Hello guys, welcome back to the channel for another not cook but food related video. Today we are cold smoking. So cold smoking is something that quite a lot of barbecue guys will do in the winter time or the autumn and maybe even late summer in Northern Ireland. It usually gets cold enough. So you might be familiar with hot smoking, which is having a fire thrown on some chunks of wood or wood of some description, which starts to smoke and give your food a wood smoke flavour. That's hard to say. So that's hot smoking, that's heat and smoke. Cold smoking is, well, really what it says on the tin. You're taking the heat element out of there and you're imparting a smoky flavour onto your food using wood smoke. Typically, most of us, I feel, would use something like the cold smoke generator from ProQ. You can also get things called smoke tubes, which is a long sort of mesh tube, and you would use pellets in it. It's anything that you can put some form of wood product into and it will smoulder slowly over time, not giving off a lot of heat, but giving off that nice smoke flavour. So I feel the ProQ cold smoke generator is probably the most popular one out there. So this little guy, you fill full of wood dust, and then it slowly burns in a maze formation out round, giving you a long period of time. So typically cold smoking, you need to leave your stuff in there for quite a long time to get that smoke flavour onto it. As far as wood dust goes in, you can get this in any flavours, so you can use some of your favourites that you would use for hot smoking in cold smoking. Today I am using the pear wood dust from Smokewood Shack. I will leave links for all this stuff in the description for all the bits and pieces you might need. So as far as the food goes that we're cold smoking today, we're doing some cheese, and for the first time actually I'm doing some nuts. I've never done these before, so I thought I'd give them a try. So I have a mix of cashews and hazelnuts here we're going to give a try. As far as cheese then, we have some pizza mozzarella. So this is like the harder block of mozzarella I would typically use on pizzas. We have Edam, good old cheddar, Emmental, is it Emmental and Gouda. So that's what we're going with today. These are in full block form, so I'm actually going to cut these up into smaller blocks. I don't tend to smoke an entire block like this. I'll generally cut it down into smaller chunks. Sometimes then it gives you the option of lifting them off after a few hours for a light smoke flavour, and then leaving the other ones on there for a sort of heavier smoke flavour. As far as other things you will need, really that's it. That will get you set up. You can put this into any barbecue as long as there's vents to have a bit of airflow through it, which most barbecues have. Today I'm just going to stick it in the bottom of the Kamado Joe and set this stuff on the cooking grates. I've done it in my kettle before. You can get little cabinets. I think ProQ actually even do a cardboard box that you can put this into, so you can literally do it in anything. The only other thing I have are these little stainless steel mesh sheets. So this one here, you might be able to see, I've kind of turned it into a bit of a mesh basket. You want the smoke to be able to get through the mesh, so you can put these into a bowl and do it, but they're only going to get smoke over the top. So by putting them into mesh, they're going to get smoke all around, and I'll give these a toss about sort of halfway through smoking as well. The other thing they're good for then is to set the likes of the cheese and stuff on. Now, ideally I could probably do with another one of these. They only came in packs of 2 and I wanted to try them out before I got any more. But they're just little stainless steel mesh sheets, and I can cut these up, set the cheese onto it, and then whenever it comes time to lift them off, I don't have to actually touch the cheese and end up rubbing some of that smoke that's stuck to the outside of them. I can lift this instead, and that way I don't have to touch them. Really, whenever they're finished, you don't want to touch them that much. You want to wrap them up and then they have to rest for a little while, but we'll cover that later in the video. So for now, I'm going to set the cheese over onto this mesh sheet, and we need to get this filled up. So as I mentioned, we're using pear dust from Smokewood Shack. This comes with a little tea light. I've burned through it already, so this is just a new one, but it's just a standard little tea light which sits in this little compartment here and lights the maze from here. You can light it with a blowtorch, but it tends to blow a lot of the dust out there. It's a bit too forceful. This is just a little bit more subtle, so I'll pop that out for now. Okay, so I'm just going to pour the dust roughly into the maze to start to fill it up. And just use your finger to sort of run it across the top. I find it works best to start with not enough and then top it up a little bit. If you start with too much, then you just end up wasting it and you're having to tip it out and try and get it out of the maze. And you can spin it around, give it a little tap just to settle it down in. Need a little bit more along the front here. And the little tea light holder is full of dust. So that looks pretty good. Set this on something whenever you're doing it, because there is a lot of like fine dust falls out the bottom of it. The only thing you need to keep in mind with this is not to stack the dust up right to the top of this lip. You want to make sure that little railing is in view the whole way around, because you don't want the dust to smoulder and then burn across that or jump across and start burning the maze from another point. You want it to get a nice long smoke. You want it to go follow the maze in its formation. Not the end of the world, it's happened to me before, and with cheese and stuff you're not smoking for a long period of time anyway, so I'm pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do now is, if I can light the tea light, it's a bit dust or windy out here, hopefully that will stay lit, and then slide it into the little hole, and then we can just set that off to the side, and pretty soon it should burn off and start producing smoke. I'll clean down my board and then we'll get the cheese prep just to go onto the barbecue. Okay, so we need to get the cheese ready to go on. And as I mentioned, I like to cut it up into smaller blocks. With the Edam, I'm just going to cut it straight down the middle. And set the blocks on like that. Obviously the smoke's not going down into this wax layer, but it gives us 3 good sides that it's going to catch smoke. Cheddar, similar story. Just going to go in half. I think most of these are small enough blocks that I'll just go in half. It gives it a little bit more surface area for the smoke to catch onto. You can smell the smoke coming through. It's like an air freshener. Mozzarella, same idea, although typically I'll use a full block when doing pizzas anyway, but in order to maximize surface area, we will cut it in half. The Emmental, same idea. My ratios are a little bit off, there's no way that's in half. And then finally the Gouda. So Gouda has a coating around the outside of it as well. We're going to go straight down the center here. Again, just to maximize where it can take on smoke. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to set them onto our little stainless steel sheet. Not sure if they're all going to fit, because you want to leave a little bit of a gap in between them, because obviously you want the smoke to circulate around quite well. Oh, it's going to be a tight squeeze. No way. I think we've done it. It's pretty good to me. I think us getting this over to the barbecue might be a bit of a harder push, but we'll get it there. We can always lift them off and set them onto the barbecue. So if we bring our CSG back over, and I think the candle's still lit. Yep. You can see here that sort of first inch of the maze has started to burn, which is what we want. And now whenever we remove the candle and blow it out, it will continue to smoulder all the way around that maze. As long as you have airflow in your barbecue, don't stick this inside and close all the vents, because although there's no flame and fire there, it still needs airflow through it to keep it smouldering. So if we carefully pull out the tea light, always end up with my fingers covered in wax doing that. Blow it out. We will go over to the barbecue now, so you'll see that it'll continue to smoke. even though the flame's been taken out. We'll go over to the barbecue, I'll show you how I have it set up, and we'll get this stuff into smoke. Alright, so KJ is cleaned out. We have the divide and conquer system in here, and bottom vent is fully open, top vent will be fully open. We've cleared out any ashes or charcoal we have in there just to open up the grate at the bottom, because that's where we need our airflow coming through. So if we carefully bring over the CSG and pop it in the bottom, that'll continue to smoke its way around that maze, giving off that sort of light wispy smoke. I've never had it go out on me. I know it can happen, but so far so good. It has never happened to me. Next up then, we'll go in with our cooking grates. I'll put them on that lowest level. Perfect the KJ twist to get those grates down in there. That's going to give us something then to hold our food on that we're smoking. You could use the accessory rack and set that mesh sheet across it and then get a second layer of stuff in here, but I don't think we're going to need it today. I think we have enough room here to get everything on. So I will grab the cheese first. Carefully balance it on the way over. We'll set it in this side. Hope this is going to fit on. Make sure nothing is touching. Yep. And then we'll go with our nuts. So again, cashew, hazelnuts, sit on this side. There's still plenty of airflow getting up through. We're not really blocking it off too much. I'll give these a bit of a toss around. Even though they can get smoke all around, they are all sitting making contact with each other. So to avoid them not getting smoke all over, I'll give them a toss around in a couple of hours time. But apart from that then, we just close the lid down, top and bottom vents fully open, and then we'll just keep an eye on it to make sure it hasn't gone out in a few hours time. Then we'll check back in. Alright, I'm going to let that run for probably around 8 hours. The CSG will go for I think 10 to 12 hours if it burns full maize. So we'll probably have a little bit at the end of it, but it all really depends on airflow through the barbecue. If it's a really windy day and the air is being forced in through that barbecue, you will end up maybe burning through it a little bit faster. So it's not such a big deal. Cheese doesn't take that long to take on a little bit of smoke, and I don't like things really heavy smoke on them, so I think 8 hours should be fine. I'll maybe lift a couple off a little bit earlier, but I'll play it by ear. Nuts, I have no idea. I'm going to leave them in there the same amount of time that the cheese is in, and then I'll just play it by ear from there. It can take a time or two to realise just how much smoke flavour you like on stuff, or to find that balance of if I smoke it for 8 hours, this is what it tastes like. If I smoke it for 4 hours, then there's a very faint smoky taste to it. So it's just something you'll do over time, and you'll learn what you like and what you don't like. Keep an eye on your barbecue as well. If that light wispy smoke disappears, then the CSG might have gone out. So if you don't see that coming out the vents, then you might need to jump in. So come back every few hours, keep an eye on it. But other than that, you just leave it be. There's nothing you need to really do with it. So it's relatively early in the morning here. I'm going to let this go most of the day, and then we will come back tonight and see how it goes, because once it comes off, the process isn't quite finished yet. But we'll maybe sneak a little taste of some of it. So we'll time jump to the future. Okay guys, our cheese has been cold smoking for just over 8 hours now. So 8 hours is enough time to get a nice mild smoke flavour onto it. I've lifted half of it off, and I'm going to leave the other half in there. There's probably another maybe 2 to 3 hours left on the maize, so I'm going to let the rest of it run out. You can't, well, we're going to eat it now, but we're not going to sample it. But you need to wrap it up and let it rest. So at the minute, I haven't touched this with my hands. I've used tongs to move it about. but that smoke flavour is stuck to the outside of it, so you'll see little edges of it that have started to go sort of darker yellow. That's that smoke flavour that's clung onto it. You need to let that neutralise, so it needs to give it a bit of time to get into the middle of the cheese, because at the minute it's only stuck around the outsides. But we're an impatient lot, so we want to try it. Interested to see how these have turned out as well. Maybe need to give them a little bit longer. Right. So this is the one I've been most looking forward to trying, the Emmental. I have no idea if I'm saying that right or not. So the deceptive thing with smoked cheese is it kind of looks like it hasn't done anything until you cut into it. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but the colour difference between the inside and the outside, that's probably, can't even see it, but I'll give it a try. Really strong smoky flavour off it. Actually stronger than I thought it would be. I think the cheddar might be quite strong too. But that's why the more you slice into that, there won't really be a smoke flavour in the middle of the cheese as such. It's just stuck to the outside of it. So you need to wrap it up and let it rest to even it out a little bit. I'll try a bit of Gouda. Don't know if I'm going to try the cheddar. I've tried it before, but I've never tried smoked Gouda. See what it's like. This is a mature Gouda as well. I really like that one. Again, I think it's going to be a little bit nicer once it mellows out. But really nice deep flavour off that, and the smoke goes really well with it. Right, let's give this one a go. Try and shimmy it around with the wax. We'll just take a little corner off it to try it. Again, much creamier cheese, but right off the bat, I don't think that one has taken the smoke as well as the other two have. Again, I've tried cheddar before, so there's no point in, I know I like medium cheddar smoked. Now onto these. There is, I'm going to say, no difference in the appearance of them. So I don't know if they'll have taste of anything at all. Go for a cashew first. Okay, very, very little. There's kind of a, it like flashes in there for a second, which kind of gives you the hint of it, but they really haven't taken on much at all. I can't even taste it on the outer coating of them, but hazelnut. No, I don't get anything off them. In fact, I'm actually going to put them back in and let them run with the cheese. You can eat the nuts straight away, but some people will rest them for 24 hours. I don't know why they're resting them, because I can't taste anything off them. But chances are I'm doing these wrong. I've done cheese before, never done nuts. These are a pure experiment. But no, not getting it. So I'll stick these back on. Once they finish, I will rest them for a little while. I'll toss them in a little bit of barbecue rub. Tasty little smoked snack. As far as this stuff goes then, as I said, we need to wrap it up. Stick my nuts back in the KJ. Goodbye to them. Okay. Okay, if we take a bit of parchment paper, stay, and grab our cheese. Again, try not to touch it with your fingers, you just strip all that smoke off the outside of them. Place it into the parchment paper. roll it over twice. You can trim off your excess. So that's how I'll do them. I'll wrap them up in a little bit of parchment, label them then with the name, what you smoked it with, and usually the date you smoked it. Also a good idea to hold on to the packaging and put the best before date of the cheese itself, but it never lasts to the use by date, so I don't really tend to worry about it. But put the date on it that you smoked it, so you know that, I think it's 2 weeks you have to rest it if you can leave it for that long. I don't know if any of mine have ever made it to 2 weeks, so, but that's basically how you do it. So I will leave links in the description to all the bits of gear I used today that you need to do it. I'll say you need to do it. The bits of gear that I use to do it. There are other options out there, and if I find any of them I will link 1 or 2 of them just in case you fancy doing it a different way. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.